by design, and this is Throwback Thursday. This is a little weekly series that I do where I dig out an older paper collection or tool, product, technique from my stash, and we work together to make something new and beautiful. Many of you know our daughter just was married this past weekend, and it was a glorious event. My head is still reeling with all the happiness and the excitement and everything that went on. And you had asked me to show you the table favors that I made for the wedding. I made 82 of these sweet little treasure boxes. These measure, I think these are 3.5 by 3.5 or right around in there. And I dry embossed them with a 3D embossing folder. It's an older one from Spellbinders, and I'll show it to you in a minute. And then I dry brushed it with just ivory paint and made this little box. And their colors for their wedding were green and white. So that is why we have this beautiful satin ribbon on here. And the little boxes inside, I used some really beautiful beach papers that I had in my stash. These were Prima, 2 different Prima collections. And we put a little sand dollar on the front of this die cut folder. Here's a little stamp that I did, and then used my computer to put in their names and the dates, then a little chocolate, and then lined the bottom of the box with more white paper than this patterned paper, and I wrote the greeting that they had on vellum on my computer and then glued that in. So that's the little box, and I made 82 of these. So I have been busy, and see, you can see each paper is, the paper is a little bit different. So really, really fun to make. And I thought I would show you, but I upgraded the design. I kept thinking about it. I think I can do this better. I think I can do this better. So what I've come up with is a box that doesn't have the raw edges on the bottom and the sides. And it took me a while to figure this out. That's an understatement. But then I found the key, which is always the case. There's always a key that unlocks every door. And the key is you cut the top just slightly larger than you cut the bottom. So I have 2 pieces of this heavy craft cardstock here. The paper for the top is cut to 7.5 by 7.5. And the paper for the bottom is cut to 7 3/8 by 7 3/8. So that is easy. Then what you do is you're going to score 7/8 and then fold this and score again at 1. And you're going to do this all the way around. Now you can bring in your embossing folder if you want to do the embossing. And this is an older Spellbinders. You may not even be able to find it. It was called Shell Beauty. It was one of the first 3D embossabilities that they came out with. But the reason I scored this first was because now I know where to place this so that I get the design where I want it. So I'm going to fold these sides in just like that so it'll fit. I'm going to spritz this with water, and I'm actually going to do front and back because this is pretty heavy cardstock. And I'm going to place this in my embossing folder, and I want it to be as even as I can get it. And then I'm going to close my folder, and I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine using the instructions for so you can see I've run it through my folder, and I can still find my crease lines. So I'm going to bring in my bone folder and just recrease along these lines. All right, and now I'm just going to dry this with my heat dryer. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to cut this and glue it together before I put my paint on it. I think that's a better plan. And honestly, if I did this again, I think I would shift this down a little bit so I get the whole Nautilus shell on here. But for the purposes of this demonstration, we're fine. I'm not going to do it again. So I'm cutting this entire outside 3/4 inch by 1.5 inch piece off. And then I'm going to trim this corner. Then I'm going to cut straight up on this 1 inch line. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to cut a little triangular piece out. And I'm going to cut this flap. And you just keep repeating this. Go all the way up here, cut a little flap out here, cut from the outside up to the corner here to make that little piece. I apologize for my voice. There were so many people to talk to. My voice is still recovering. It was fun, you guys. The weather was perfect. My daughter was absolutely gorgeous. I have pictures posted on my Kathy by Design Facebook page. You can go check those out if you want to. The food was delicious, friends and family. It was everything you want in a wedding. And it was just incredible. It was more like a day in May than it was a day in February. So we were truly, truly blessed by the weather. All right. See, this is why I don't talk and work at the same time, because I just realized I should have cut up this way, but it will still work. You'll see. There's no real way to do these wrong. They're a really simple little design. And if I wanted to, I could put this back in my embossing folder, but I'm still doing laundry, trying to get my house back in order. Weddings are good for young people. It was great fun, but man, I stayed up too late every night and I ate too much food every day and all the things. It was really great. All right. Such a happy time, and we just love our new son-in-law. He is a wonderful guy, and yeah, looking forward to a good life. All right, so now, see, we've got all these little flaps and things. So we're going to bring in our adhesive. And on these little flaps where we cut the little triangle piece out, we're going to put adhesive down. And I know I showed you a couple of weeks ago how to do a box. This isn't even, I think this is even a little bit more elegant because it just looks a little more finished. There are no raw edges, but the other one is certainly fine too. So now this is going to fold in just like this. And this is going to fold in over here. You see that? And just line everything up. And this is going to fold in here. And you can make these boxes any size you want. Just remember, you cut your bottom of your box that 1/8 of an inch smaller than the top. So now we've got all our little inside flaps in place. And sometimes this really heavy craft paper is resistant to accepting the glue, but we're just going to encourage it here. Okay, so now we're going to put our adhesive on the inside of these 4 flaps that we cut the corners off of. And then I've got some binding clips that I'm just going to snap into place until that glue sets up. that looks good. That looks good. Okay. So I think I showed you before how to dry brush it. I'm just gonna set this aside for that glue to set up before we go on to that next step, okay? I just want to make sure everything is glued in securely. But see, now you've got this beautiful rolled finished edge. It just looks so much more professional. So bring this one in. I think I lost my scoring tool. I think that's what that big noise was. So we're just going to do the same thing here that we did before. We're going to score it 7/8, fold it, and score it 1 inch. And this is the 7 3/8 inch piece. So now we're going to put our adhesive on these flaps, just like before. And you just want to take a moment, make sure your corners are lined up. That's what makes it pretty. These flaps. See, this corner's not quite lined up, so I'm just going to fix that. There we go. Then do these flaps, and you're doing the inside edge of these flaps. And you can use score tape if you want to. That's perfectly fine. So now this is just going to set up. So we're going to set that aside. I'm going to dip into my paint. You can see I have almost none on my brush, and I'm actually going to brush it off a little on my table and this dry brush over this embossed design. And the fun thing is that no two of these boxes comes out exactly the same. They're each unique. Now, if you wanted to, you could completely skip the embossing section and you could just cover with paper and it would also be very, very beautiful. So see, fits perfectly, nice and snug, but you can open it. Of course, this top one's still a little wet, but you get the idea. That is how you make the box. Isn't that fun? So here they are. These are the ones that I made for the wedding. These I cut to 5.5 by 5.5. And I just scored that little difference between the top and the bottom. I did not do the 2 pieces that make this beautiful finished edge. I wish I had. Although, honestly, I don't know if I would have finished. And you can make these any size you want. Here's a bigger one that I did, just as kind of a prototype, messing around. As big as your paper will support, you can build your box. So have fun dressing these up, filling them up with goodies. They make beautiful gifts. They're a wonderful presentation for a gift card or a monetary gift, or like to do at a ladies' luncheon or a wedding anniversary, that sort of thing, birthday party. That's how you make an elegant rolled edge box with just no tools except a scoring tool and scissors. All right, guys, that's it for me, Kathy Clement, Kathy by Design, and I'm gonna clean up and go get my craft done. Thanks, bye.